Hello and welcome to episode 33 of the Crochet Circle podcast. This one is called It's So Close I Can Almost Sniff It. Come on in, welcome, hello. My name is Faye. This is my monthly podcast. It comes out on the first Friday of every month, religiously. Everything else in my life gets put to one side so that at 10 o'clock, first Friday of every month, this podcast goes live on audio and also up on YouTube. You can catch me on Instagram on crochet_circle_podcast, and there's also a group of lovely people on Ravelry, and everyone that watches and listens to the podcast is part of the Crochet Clan. So if you are on Instagram, you can use the hashtag Crochet Clan to see what everybody is up to and start using that hashtag as well and be part of the clan. I'm trying something new today. I started it on the last couple of recordings, and I am standing up to podcast. I really enjoyed it last time and I felt it kept my energy levels up. It probably made me waffle less, so I had less editing to do, so that was a benefit. And my niece helped me to rejig my office studio around a little bit, so the way that we've now got it makes it really feasible for me to podcast standing up and be closer to the window, so I've got more natural light. I'm still using studio lights as well, but I think it's quite cool, and I really quite like the energy that I've got from doing it this way. So apologies, you might hear me shuffling about. I might move around a bit more because I'm like naturally quite buoyant. I'm always dancing and kind of larking about, but it seems to really suit me, and it's like moving around and being an idiot is part of my personality, so standing up to podcast seems like a natural thing for me to do. So I'm going to try and stay rooted to the spot so that you can't hear me shuffling about or see me jigging about too much, but we'll see how it goes. I'm going to test it out and see what I think of it. Shall we crack on with old dog new tricks? Last month I reported back on Moth Watch, and it has continued, and loads of you came back with lots of decent information on how you tackle them, the fact that you didn't even know to look out for moths, and I've tried out a couple of other things since so that I could report back and let you know what the best way was for dealing with moths. So lovely Lisa, a Crochet Clan member, got in touch and told me about some pheromone traps that you can get. So they are sticky pieces of card, and they have got a central part to them which has got the pheromones, which attracts the male moths, and that way the male moths should be attracted to that, get stuck, and then the females can't breed. So I put them up in my house probably about 2 weeks ago, and I'm still continuing to do Moth Watch in my living room, which is where I had the major issue with them. I checked all of the moth traps this morning, not a single moth on them, but I know that I have since had to deal with a load more moths in our living room, and the pheromone traps don't seem to have done anything. I mean, you could say they were all females that I've been dealing with, but I'd be very surprised if that was the case. So if you're looking at pheromone traps as a way of dealing with your moth problem, I don't think it's enough. I think you probably need to be doing something else. And if you're of the opinion that this isn't something that you need to be aware of, my friend Nu went to her stash a couple of days ago, and even though she had double bagged it in plastic, she had moths that had just decimated her stash. Absolutely heartbreaking for her. She had a really nicely curated load of yarn and wool, and the moths have decimated it. So get into your stash, go and have a look at it, check it out, look for eggs, look for moths, look for any signs of them. Lovely Crochet Clan person Mara got in touch, and she has a friend who is also a pest controller, and their suggestion for dealing with moths is even more full on than the one that I'd given you last time. And they suggest that you ziplock it, freeze your yarn for 5 days, take it back out of the freezer for 5 days, keeping it in the Ziploc bag, and then freeze it for a further 5 days. And what that means is any eggs that hadn't been dealt with in the first freezing have got the potential to then hatch during the defrost in those 5 days. And then if you then refreeze it for 5 days, that should kill out anything that has come alive in that time when it was out of the freezer again. So 5 days in the freezer, 5 days out, 5 days back in the freezer, and that's one of the best ways, I think, to deal with an existing problem. And I would fully encourage you, the minute you see a moth in your house, deal with it. And still the best thing, believe it or not, is the hoover. That's the easiest way that I've found to deal with them, because even if they are moving mid-flight, they fly at quite an awkward kind of flight pattern. They're quite difficult to catch, but you've got more chance of doing it with the hoover because you can do it from further afield. Clapping your hands doesn't work, it's not that effective. Using a tissue, sometimes you don't catch them and it can make a mess. But at least by hoovering them up, they've gone, and that's it. So I've still found that to be the best method of dealing with an existing problem. But I fully encourage you to be really vigilant, get into your stashes, double check, double bag things, freeze up new stock that comes in. So if you're heading off to yarn shows, freeze it before you even let it anywhere near your stash, because otherwise you could just have bought lots of wool and yarn and never get the benefit of it, because all you're doing is giving moths a load of food to go at. So yeah, thank you for the information, Mara. It was really helpful. I encourage you to look after your stashes. I have never looked at spiders in such a positive light in all my life. I hate spiders with a passion. I've got one up just to the right of me where I'm recording, and previously that would have been hoid out of my office, and now I'm like, come on in, you big moth muncher, you're allowed to stay here. You can remain in my office and in my house, because I would rather have a spider than a moth. That's how negatively I feel about moths, little suckers. So that's it for Old Dog New Tricks. The second thing that I wanted to talk about were some of the cals. We today, as I'm recording, it's the 31st of July, so we're coming to the end of the summer top cal. It has been phenomenal. So many people have entered this. Lots and lots of you have crocheted or knitted up garments for the first time ever. You've never done it before. You've used the cal as a way of pushing yourself on with a new technique. Some of you have done 4 or 5 different tops for within the cal. It's just been great to see. If you want to see all of the finished objects, then there are 2 places to go and see them, and you will see different things in both places. So the first is on Instagram, and if you go to and search #SummerTopCalFO, then you'll see all of the finished objects listed in that. And other places in the Ravelry thread, in the finished objects for the Ravelry thread. There are loads. And what I've been trying to do is, anytime somebody has been working on a top that I haven't already got in the bundle in Ravelry, then I've been searching it out, and if it's on Ravelry, then I've added it to the bundle. So if you're looking for inspiration on lots of different patterns that you could crochet up, then go to the main page of the Crochet Circle group on Ravelry, and at the top right hand side you will see bundles, and you'll see a lady, I think she's got her back to you, the photo, and it's a little stripy top that she's got on, and it says something like Summer Top Cal bundle, and there are loads of patterns in there to go and have a look at. Very varied. Lots of people had an input on creating that bundle, and like I say, I've tried to add every single one that's been added into the cal as well. So loads of inspiration in there for you to go at. Yeah, thank you everyone that's taken part. It has been really good. I finished one top, one of which I am wearing, which is my summer road trip top that I did for the crochet-along, and I have another one still on the go, which I'll show you in en route. Haven't quite made it to the deadline. So because I'm recording on the 31st and this is due to go out on the 3rd of August, what I'm going to do is insert a little piece now from Future Fae, where I will have drawn the winner of Sharon's pattern for the no-sew kimono, and also the 2 winners for the summer top cal. Hello, this is Future Faye, coming to tell you about all of the entries that we had for the cal and who the winners were. So I've just totted it all up, and we had 61 entries on Ravelry and 53 on Instagram. And some of them were crossed over, as I encourage people. Some put them up on Ravelry and on Instagram. Absolutely fine with that. And I did a random number generation, and the number that came up for Ravelry was 51. And the winner is Mara Ruby Tombstone, who I can't remember if I've already talked about her or I will be talking about her later on in this episode. But Mara, well done. You are our Ravelry winner. You get the new Sherman Beautiful British Leather hook case and the stitch markers from Lisa, and also the Liberty, Beautiful Liberty notebook. So well done to you, thank you. And then the winner from, sorry, I should say that Mara's project that she won, she put in loads of different ones, but the one that won was the Petals cardie cover, and I'll pop a picture up in the show notes and here. And the winner from Instagram was Wendy, who is Wendell Call on Instagram, and she was number 53, and she did the Sea Breeze cover-up top. And again, Wendy put in loads of entries as well. So yeah, it's great to see that you ladies are winning. And Wendy lives not too far from me, actually. She's up in the northwest of England, or maybe you're in North Wales. So Wendy, let me know. Ping me a message, and then I will sort out which colours you want for the Gossipine cotton, and you'll also get stitch markers from Lisa and a Liberty notebook. So well done, and I will I'll wait to hear from you with your addresses, and then I'll send out your prizes. And I'm back in the room. The other cal that's been going on is the Loft Along, which I've been running personally on Instagram as Faye dashper-hughes Designs. That's going really, really well, although I just feel like I have done nothing but knit and crochet loft shawls for like weeks on end now, and it shows no sign of abating. I'll go into that in a little bit. So yeah, if you're interested in that, that runs until the 31st of August. So many beautiful examples of people's work using knit by numbers, people not using knit by numbers, all sorts, loads of crocheted ones, loads of knitted ones. I'm so chuffed. And I've just created 2 more patterns for that for DK versions. So yeah, that's why I've been just on a loft mission, because 2 more patterns have come out since I spoke with you last. I think that's it for cals. Next thing that I wanted to talk to you about is yarn shows. I had a question come in from Crochet Clan member Fiona on Instagram. So Fiona's coming to Yarndale for the first time this year, and she has never been to a yarn show before, and I don't think she's concerned about it, but she's wondering how she can make the most of it. She doesn't want to get flustered, and she wanted to know how she could approach going to a yarn show for the first time. So I actually thought that this was something that lots of people might benefit from a kind of discussion point over. So what I've done was I collated like my top 10 ideas. It turned into be a top 11, and you'll see why for the 11th one, of ways to approach a yarn show, or ways that I would suggest you approach a yarn show. So forgive me, because I'm going to read these through off the paper so that I make sure I cover all of the points. So number 1, and this doesn't matter if you've been before or not, but go online, see what people have got to say about that yarn show. Is the food good? Is the ground uneven? Is day 2 quieter than day 1? All of this information can really help you to set yourself up for going to a yarn show. If the food's rubbish, you're going to want to take your own. If the ground's uneven, don't be going in your highest of high heels. Go online, see what all of the other visitors in previous years have had to say about it, because it will really help you to get the most out of that yarn show. Number 2, most yarn shows put a map up on their website a few weeks before with all of their vendors listed out. Print off the map, look at who's there. And what I tend to do is mark off who it is that I definitely want to see. Who is it that I would be gutted if I missed out on seeing and I didn't get some of their stock? And they're the ones that I make a beeline for. So it might be that I'm zigzagging across different halls or different tents or different stalls and alleyways, but I would do that first, and then anything else after that you see that is new, well, that's all gravy, isn't it? That's all just good news because you're getting to see extra stuff. But if you've got very specific people that you want to see at that yarn show, then make a beeline for them first and make sure you don't miss out. In particular, if they've got something that they're doing specifically for that yarn show, a lot of indie dyers do specific colourways for different yarn shows. And if you're desperate to get hold of that, then definitely go and see that vendor first. Number 3 is dress appropriately. You might think that a cattle market placed for a yarn show is going to be a really cold place to be. However, when you have got thousands of bodies in there, it can get really, really hot. So wear layers, stuff that you can strip off and put back on really easily. I particularly love having something that I can tie around my waist, so like a cardigan or a jumper, because then I'm less likely to drop it. I don't have to add it into one of my bags. If it's around my waist, then I can quickly put it back on and take it off. It's not going to get buried with all of the stuff that I'm buying. So yeah, wear layers and wear really comfortable shoes. I can't stress that enough. I don't know how many times I've gone from beauty over practicality at a yarn show and bitterly regretted it about 3 hours in. Yeah. Number 4, arrive early and try to park as closely to the venue as possible. It means that you've got easy access to your car if you need to go and drop stuff off. And it also means that if the cafes are really busy and you can get a takeout cup of tea, you can go and sit in your car and get away from the crowds for a little bit. Some yarn shows are worse than others in terms of how large the crowds are and not being able to filter past, and it can feel really quite claustrophobic. The ones in the UK that I've found that in particular are Yarndale and Edinburgh Yarn Festival. They're exceptionally busy shows, and you can really be doing the yarn show shuffle, trying to get in and out of stalls and not being able to see and just being surrounded by people. So sometimes you might just want a little bit of a breather, and to go and sit in your own car in your own surroundings isn't a bad thing if claustrophobia is something that affects you. Food is a massive issue at yarn shows. Of all of the ones that I go to in the UK, there are only 2 that I would say the food is good enough at, I think, and that's Wonder Wool Wills and Woolfest. Quite often the quality isn't good enough, the selection isn't good enough, quantities can't be good enough. I've been at yarn shows where they have just run out of food completely. And again, this is where parking your car as close as possible comes. If you already know, because you've done your online research, that the yarn show doesn't have great food, then you can take your lunch and you can leave it in your car. Go and have a breather in your car and go and get your lunch from there. Better still, arrange to come and have a picnic with lots of people. That's what myself and a load of other people are doing at Yarndale this year. There's going to be a picnic on the Saturday and the Sunday, 12:30, both days on the green outside the front of the venue. Weather permitting, I'm hoping that it's going to be good enough, but if you've parked your car closely enough, then you can get your picnic blankets out and you can sit and have lunch with us, because I don't like queuing for the food at Yarndale. I'm never that impressed with the food anyway, so I would rather take homemade food and go and get a chill out and sit on the grass and enjoy a bit of social time with other people. So if you're coming to Yarndale and you want to do that, please come and join us. 12:30, Claudia will be there, Charlie will be there, Beck will be there, loads and loads of people will be there. So bring your own lunch and come and picnic with us at 12:30. You're very welcome. But I would encourage you to go and do that at other shows as well. Go and check out also, if you're not up for bringing your own food, go and check out what else is available locally. Talking of Yarndale again, there's a bus that can take you down into the town that's got loads of cafes, and there is also an amazing farm shop just down the road from the venue. So look at your yarn show and see if there's anything else around and about, because you can guarantee that the queues will be less and it's quite likely that the food will be better and cheaper, because you're not a captive audience, which is the way most people view a yarn show. Number 6, go in with a spending budget. I know lots of people that do this. The nature of yarn shows means that many of them are rural, and therefore getting anything that's like a good enough signal to take card payments can be a real issue. So lots of them depend on being able to take cash sales. So take cash with you. Also, a lot of the locations don't have cash machines beside them, so make sure that you've got cash with you in advance. Vendors tend, and I can't give a sweeping statement, I know how I feel about it, vendors tend to prefer cash. Every transaction that I take on card, I pay 2.7% back to the people that are allowing me to take that electronic transaction. So that's 2.7% of my profit that's gone because I've taken a card payment. And this is why vendors will have a limit on the amount that you can take on card, minus £15. I know other people do it for 10, other people do it for 30, and that's why, because it costs them money. And vending at a yarn show is an expensive deal. You've got to hire a van, accommodation, the cost of getting in there, potential staffing costs. It's not a cheap thing to do. So if you can help vendors out by taking cash rather than doing card transactions, then please do. Most of them would prefer that. Number 7, be sociable. If you've gone alone, go and grab a cuppa. And if you're not going out to your car to not be sociable, then go and sit with lots of other people and strike up a conversation. You are in with some of the friendliest people going, and I always do this. Even if I'm with another group of friends, I will always try and talk to the people that are around me, partly because I'm nosy and I want to see what they've been buying, see if I've missed out on something, but partly because I'm a chatterbox and I just like to interact with people all the time. So if you're there on your own and you're feeling a bit lonely, just go and grab a cup of tea and go and sit with some people. They will gladly sit and talk to you for 10 minutes whilst you have your cuppa. Number 8, if you've got friends on Ravelry or Instagram or a favourite podcaster, see if they're going to the event. See if you can meet up with them for a brew. And if there's a podcaster meetup, see what's going on and go and join in. Don't be shy. I've had loads of people contact me afterwards and said, oh, I saw you at such and such an event, but I didn't come and say hello, I was too shy. I love it when people come and say hello. You get a hug and I want to know all about you and what you've been buying. And I just love meeting people. So don't be shy, just come and say hello. I've got so many friendships on the back of this podcast and from people coming and saying, hello, I like what you do, I like your designs, or I love your podcast, and it's lovely. So do come and engage with people, and that goes for vendors as well. You know, anyone, if you really like what they do, go and tell them. There's nothing that means more to a small business than somebody coming and saying, I really love your product, it's amazing. Just be sociable, go out and meet people, and go and meet people and the folk that you know from Instagram. Just ping them a message and say, I see you're going to Yarndale as well. Let's try and meet up. It's always appreciated. Number 9, if you don't do well with big crowds, check out what is the quietest day for you to go. As a general rule of thumb, if you have got a festival that runs on the Saturday, Sunday, on both days the afternoon will be quieter. On the Sunday, it will be much, much quieter. So Saturday is always a busier day, Sunday is always the quieter day, and a Sunday afternoon is just not dead, but it's a much, much quieter affair than the Saturday morning through to beyond lunchtime. So if you're not great with crowds, choose the right time to go to a yarn festival. If you're going to a festival that is on a Friday, Saturday, general rule of thumb is that the Friday will be quieter. Because people are usually off at the weekend, that always makes a Saturday a much busier day for a yarn festival. And I'm bearing this out on festivals that I've attended and festivals that I have vended at, and that's the way that I always feel that it is with the crowds. And also I get some of the visitor numbers back from the festival organisers, and I know that the day that isn't the Saturday is always the quieter of the days. So just choose, and then you get time to walk around and you actually get to see the stands and the vendors properly, and they've got more time to talk and have a chat with you as well. Number 10, check the small print. I've only just seen that people that have got advanced tickets for Yarndale get in at 10 o'clock. If you don't have an advanced ticket, you don't get in until 11 o'clock now at Yarndale, and I think that's new for this year. So check what is on the small print of your ticket, and if you're going to buy a ticket on the day, check and make sure that you know what time it actually opens for you, because if you don't, you could have missed out on an extra hour in bed or an extra hour of crochet, because you're then just spending your time stood in a queue. So check and see what the terms and conditions are for purchasing that ticket. And number 11 I've just added as an extra, and it's more of a request, and what I would request is that you are vigilant at yarn shows. There's a lot of theft that happens at yarn shows. A lot of stock gets stolen, and if you see something that you think looks a bit dodgy, let the vendor know if it's on their stand, because it can crush a small business. I know multiple vendors that have had quite a lot of stock stolen over the years, so if you see something, let them know. It allows them to then have extra eyes on something. I quite often vend on my own and I can't catch everything. And if you get some people that are blocked into your stand, you can't really hover over them and make them feel uncomfortable. So if you see something, let the vendor know that you think there might be something dodgy happening. It's then up to them to try and do something about it. But it's great to have extra eyes and ears on it from a visitor's point of view. And then I thought I would review 3 other ones, which are 3 things that happen to vendors. And I've heard this from multiple vendors, and I've had it happen to me. So I thought I would give you some things that is best not to do to vendors. Number 1, if you want to take a photo of the vendor's stall and items of stock, just ask them in advance. Because if you don't, the vendor is stood there thinking, are they about to rip me off? Are they about to steal my intellectual property and try and remake the things that I have created from scratch? Are they trying to copy my colourways? Just ask the vendor. I've never yet been told, no, you cannot take photos of my stand and the stock that I've got. So yeah, just ask. It's just polite to make sure that you're allowed to take photos on their stand. Number 2, and I've had this happen and it's really frustrating, and I know none of you would, but just in case, please don't stand and say, oh, I could make that at half the price. I've heard it a couple of times, and I know of other vendors that have complained about this as well. It costs a lot of money to make bespoke items, and there's a lot of heart and soul and time and resource goes into making these items that are available at yarn shows, and they're not easy to make, and you can't make them at half the price. Vendors tend not to get paid that much. Like I say, I'm sure none of you ever would, and if you ever hear somebody saying it, feel free to tell them off. And number 3, don't be shy. Vendors, by and large, and there are some vendors out there that don't do well with communication, but you'll know that instantly. But there are so many of us that love to have a chatter. Don't be shy, talk to the vendor, tell them if you really like something. I always ask people if they come onto my stand and I'm not dealing with another customer, I'm always asking what it is that they've been buying, where they've been buying it, if they're enjoying the show. I really like to engage with people, and so I would encourage you, initiate some of those conversations with the vendors as well. It's always nice when somebody comes onto a stand and is bright and bubbly and wants to have a chat with you about their day, how it's going, how they're enjoying the event, and what they think of your stock as well. It just makes life a little bit more interesting for the vendors. So I'm going to move on to final destination. I have got a couple of items and they both begin with L and end in oft. When I had finished off the lofts last time round and started off the knit along, crochet along, I had quite a few people get in touch and say, have you got a DK version of the pattern as well? And I didn't. And it seems that quite a lot of you like DK weight yarns and you don't go below that. And a DK is, in American terms, weight, a light 3, basically. That's what the yarn is. And so what I did was I promised to put out a DK pattern, and I promised to do it on a very short timescale, which I managed to do. So inside of a 2-week turnaround period, I had sorted out both patterns. So a DK crocheted pattern, which is available in UK and US terminology, and also a knitted pattern. So I'll add photos to the show notes, but the knitted one is done in gorgeous, gorgeous green colours, which I'm also entering in for the Summer of Romance Cal, because green is my bad boy's colour and my bad boy is Loki. It's Tom Hiddleston as Loki. I adore him. There's just something. Claudia talked about it in her podcast, the Crochet Luna podcast, about the psychology of why it is that we love a bad boy, and Loki is just right up my street, as is Tom Hiddlepeddy. He's just lush. So yeah, my green knitted version is being entered into the Bad Boys and Girls Cal, so that's in. And then I have also crocheted up a blue version DK, which is using all the kind of denim-y blue colours in the Knit by Numbers range, and that is all I've been working on. Like, flat out, by the time I'd done the crocheted one first and then I did the knitted one, I was so sick of doing lofts, and I've still got another kind of 3 to do. So yeah, you're still going to see lofts coming from me for a good little while yet, because I have to make them. It's one of the things that I do when I do a pattern for John and Juliet Arbin. I make samples for them as well, and then because I also sell the pattern, I have to make a sample for myself, so I don't get to just do something once, I have to do it multiple times. And because I do knit and crochet, I have to do them multiple times. So by the time that I've got a pattern out, I've probably already done it 2 or 3 times. Yes. So yeah, they are my final destinations, and both of these are staying with me. So if you ever see me on a stand, I will have these 2 versions with me. But I think I'm going to try and get like decent use out of them as well, particularly the blue crocheted one I love. And I've got this, when you're crocheting something up and you have this idea of how it's going to look on you in the way that you want to wear it. This blue version for me is skinny jeans, my knee-high leather boots, a crisp white shirt, and that shawl wrapped around me, kind of V at the front. That's how I've got it in my mind, like looking good, hair done, makeup done, off out for like a nice lunch or something. That's what I've got as my vision for the shawl when I want to wear it. So yeah, and then the green one, it'll just get worn because it's long enough to do like a push through pashmina, where you can push it from one through to the other, so it fits really nicely under jackets. So yeah, I'm sure that will get used as well. I can't use them too much because they've got to look good when I put them out on my stand. So yeah, they are my only 2 final destination finished objects for this month. I've got loads of other bits and pieces on the go, but again, it feels like I've just got really big projects on the go at the moment. So yeah, I need to get through them, and then I'm looking forward to working on some other people's designs. Actually, I really like the inspiration of working from other people's designs, and whilst I love designing myself, it feels a bit selfish. And it feels particularly selfish because I've got this podcast and I want to be showing you stuff that isn't just mine. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to August being a time for doing more than just my own designs. On to en route. I'm still working on my second top for the Cal, which clearly is not going to be done in time because the deadline is midnight tonight. So that's a no-go. But I thought I would just show you the progress that I've got so far. I have done 2 panels and they are identical. I really like the construction of this top. It's basically 2 V panels, and then what you do is you start working in the round and you incorporate both panels. So you've got your front and the back, and you do some clever rounds to pull the V down towards your waist. So I don't know how much longer I've got on this. It is the Verity Vest top by the Almond Snug, and Dawn has very kindly given me a discount code for you guys for this top, and I could pass it on to you now, but what I'm actually thinking is it will work better when I've got it as a finished object, so you can see how it really looks, rather than me saying, oh, look at these 2 panels for this amazing top, please go and buy it because it's great. I'd rather like that discount be offered when the top is ready to go and you can see the way that it's meant to look. So yeah, that's an ongoing. That's coming with me to Northern Ireland. We have got hours on a ferry, 8 hours in total on Thursday night through the night, and some stupid me didn't order a cabin. So we have got 8 hours on a ferry crossing the Irish Sea, and we've got no cabin to sleep in, so I don't quite know what's going to happen there, because I think the only bit that you can get seating is in and around the bar area, which has got TVs on the go and stuff, and like truckers, and yeah. So I may end up in the Premier Lounge on the ferry just so that we can try and get some sleep, or I may be crocheting away on my Verity Vest top. And my second en route, unsurprisingly, is a loft. And I only have myself to blame for this. This is a sample that I am doing for John and Juliet's stand, and I'm using the wine colourways. They're really beautiful. These are colours 75, 77 and 79 in the Knit by Numbers range. I really like them. And I didn't need to start this, but Steph from the Tatted Tatter podcast has exactly these colours, and she said she was going to start it, and me being a total plum said, ooh, we could have a loft-along competition. And Steph said yes, and she was like, well, I have to have mine finished by Friday before I go on this retreat thing. And my stupid brain went, okay then. And then I kind of forgot about it, and then yesterday Steph put it up on Instagram and said, look, I'm 2 days into my loft along and my loft off with Faye, and I hadn't even wound up my roll. So I got on it straight away, put it out on Instagram, and Claudia is joining in. And who else is joining? Somebody else is joining in as well. Becky from Rivernets, she's joining in. She's trying to do it by Friday as well. There is not a chance that I'm going to be able to go from, I'm on row 60 at the moment. There's not a chance that I'm going to get to go from row 60 to a fully fledged DK crocheted loft by Friday, unless I potentially just crochet all my time on the ferry. But the little competitive streak in me was just like, do it. Do it. You have to be able to manage this deadline. Oh, it's ridiculous. So it's a friendly loft off. But yeah, if you want to see how we're getting on, go and have a look on Instagram under #loftoff because there's a few of us trying to get this done for a Friday deadline. Let's see what happens there. If anybody was interested, by the way, and you live in America or Canada, Claire at the Woolly Thistle, and I've put links into the show notes, has got every single shade of the Knit by Numbers DK, and she has also pulled together some really nice colour kits for the loft shawl. So whether you want to do knitted or crocheted, she's pulled together some lovely colours, or you can put your own colours in there. And I think the kits are $49.95 for 3 100-gram skeins, a tote bag and her pin, which I think in American terms is really quite a good deal for this yarn. I think she's done like quite a nice bundle deal on it. So that's available at thewoollythistle.com. But like I say, I've popped a link for that into the show notes. So I do have other en routes that I'm working on, but they are knitted, so I'll just show you them when I've got them as final destination objects, rather than showing you all of the other knitted projects that I've got on the go. So I'm going to move on to feeding the habit. It's been really busy. I've been everywhere, and I've been buying up local yarn and yarn for the next set of designs as well. And so I've got quite a lot. I'm thinking I might need to yarn ban myself again for the end of the year. I might get past Yarn Deal and Yarn Folk and then have a October, November, December yarn ban again and just not buy anything else until I've worked through a load more of my stuff, because, well, just wait till you see what's been going on. It doesn't help that I have been to so many woolly events in the last few weeks, and my intention is to do exactly the same as I did last month. I've been to lots of places, I've taken loads of photos, taken some video footage. I've been to 4 different local yarn shops in the last 4 weeks. I have been to, I think, 3 yarn events. I've got Yarn Folk coming up, and I want to be able to show you the Northern Irish coastline as well and what I get up to in Northern Ireland. So I'm going to do an extra podcast mid-August where I'll pull together like part 2 of my summer shenanigans. So it won't be the standard podcast. It will just be me talking about what it is that I've been up to in some of the different woolly events that I've been attending, and my mini holiday, my mini break. Now, I was looking at the download numbers for audio in particular, and I think some of you have missed out episode 31 and you went straight to 32, and I don't know if that's because you're downloading it on your phone and it just automatically gives you the latest podcast. So if you went straight to episode 32 and it didn't sound like a normal podcast, that's because it wasn't. And what you've done is missed episode 31, which is the one that you want, which was my standard July podcast. So go back, look for 31, and that's the one that you actually want to be listening to, unless you're happy to do both. But 32 is just summer shenanigans. It's all the stuff that I was up to in June. Right, let's get on with some of the things that I have been buying. So I managed to pick up a couple of plant dye books that I'd not come across before. The first is called Dyes from Plants, and it's by a lady called Sinead Robertson. I think I paid £5 for that, and it's a really nice, quite in-depth one, and it covers plants both that are UK natural plants and also going over into US and Canada as well. So I thought that might probably quite a good reference one, because I talk about natural dyeing quite a bit on the website, and I often have people ask me questions about what it is that I'm dyeing and whether it would work for them and the plants that they've got access to. So another nice bit of reference material. And then I also found another one which is called Natural Dyes for Spinners and Weavers, by a lady called Hetty Wickens. What a lovely name, Hetty Wickens. And I really like this one because One, it's got crochet in it, and it shows stuff after it's been crocheted up and woven, and it's got really good colour photos to show you how the different dies should look with different mordants. Just lots of information that some of the newer books don't really go into. And it also has quite a lot of household plants and quite a lot of techniques in there as well, even for things like doing like tie-dye with your natural dyes. So yeah, quite a nice little book, and that was a whole £2.50. So yeah, a couple of new dye books, and then I found one which is The Practical Spinner's Guide to Wool, and that's an interweave publication, and it is by Kate Larson. Apparently this is quite a new book and reasonably well thought of, and the reason I got this is because it seemed like a good crossover from some of my books about natural fibres and about all the breeds, and this talks about all of that in some depth, but really comes at it from a spinning point of view. So again, I thought this was a good one to have in my arsenal, and I think that was like £3 or something at the little local Blaze Farm event. So yeah, I was really chuffed with my purchases on that one. I like having books. I like having craft books because I go back and I reference them a lot, and I use them quite a lot for the podcast as well. So rather than just taking to the internet, I really enjoy scooping up a big pile of books that I think are going to be relevant to the topic or to a question that I've been asked, sitting with a cup of tea and soaking up loads of information. The thing about looking it up on Google is you quite often get your answer all too quickly, and if you're going in and looking for it through a book, then you tend to pick up lots of other information at the same time whilst you're rooting about trying to find the answer for stuff. And I really quite like that. I love learning. I am a little sponge. I love taking in information and assimilating it into the different areas of my life. So it really suits me to have lots of books. The other thing that I got was from Claudia, Crochet Luna podcast. I sell her badge pins, and I'm about to pop up online her buttons as well. And so she sent me a load of them, and she sent me some for my bags too. So I've got her Summer of Romance Cal 2018 buttons. They'll be loaded up on the shop by the time this podcast goes live. And also her Equal Opportunity Yarn Lover button. And also her Yarn Vixen one. She's got a lot of yellow buttons this time, which pleases me no end. Love a yellow button. And also the Happiness is Crochet, which comes in lots of different colours. So they are going to be added to one of my bags shortly, but I wanted to show them off here first. And like I say, they'll be loaded up on the shop. So if you're a fan of Claudia and her podcast and you've seen her showing off her lovely buttons, then they will be up. They'll be up by the time you're seeing and listening to this. So yeah, I've got 4 of them to add on to my bags. Right, would you like to see the wool and the yarn? Let's start with the wool that I bought at Blaze Farm, and you'll understand when you see it, you'll understand why I couldn't say no to this. So I have 2 natural colours of brown, one which is quite a toffee brown and one which is quite a peaty brown. It says it's a DK, but it's quite a chunky yarn, and the reason I couldn't say no to this is because this is from a local Icelandic flock of sheep. They live about 20 miles from me, and it's so different from the Icelandic stuff that I get from Iceland. It's actually an awful lot softer to handle. There's less guard here, which I guess you would expect because it's living in a very different climate. It's a totally different take on Icelandic wool, and I was just intrigued by it, and the fact that it's locally grown to me and it's Icelandic, I couldn't resist. And the toffee brown colour is absolutely beautiful. So I got one of each of those to have a little play with and just make something up. I don't know what I'm going to make with them, but they had me at Icelandic. That was it. I was just like, yeah, you're coming home with me. This has to be a thing. Information is in the show notes for who the breeder is for this. If you're interested in trying out some of their stock, I think they sell online, but I've got their business card, so I'll make sure it's linked. It smells really almost like sweet and nutty. It's got a really interesting nose on it compared to the Icelandic sheep that I get. Yeah, it's lovely. So that's pal number 1. Then I went to You and Ply. You and Ply is run by Becca and Teddy. They're great friends and they've been open, I think, for about 2.5 years. Their shop is in the Market Hall in Shrewsbury, and Shrewsbury is just a half an hour train ride for me, so it is one of my local yarn shops. And their shop has just gone from strength to strength, and I love what they do. They are very British focused, and they're very keen, as I am, on the provenance of everything that they sell. They ask every supplier where the goods come from and trying to understand what the sourcing policy is, what the labour policy is, and that, that's really important in my world. So I love the fact that Becca and Teddy do that as well. And one of the things that they've been developing in the last couple of years is sourcing their own fleeces to create their own blends of wool and having it spun for them. And I had the pleasure of seeing them at Edinburgh Yarn Festival when they were on their way up towards the new Lanark mill to go and have this lot spun. And then they've got it back down and they have been dyeing it up. They like very like historical dye colours, so trying to emulate the historical natural dyes that you would get, and they are working on natural dyes as well. So they go with it's not multicoloured rainbow, lots of stuff on different dyes. They're concentrating on stuff that looks great for tonal work or for colour work, crochet or knitted, and that's exactly what they've got. And it comes in an Aran and a DK weight, and it's called Shropshire Ply. And they give me this little bundle to have a play with, which I will do, and it's so springy, it's so boingy, this wool. I've used their Shropshire Ply before. I used the 4-ply and really loved it, so I'm looking forward to having a little play with this. But I was over meeting with them, and this was a nice little bonus that I came away with. And then what I also got from them was they have another one that they've been dyeing up. I couldn't say no to this. It's like a little dirty tiger. I just love it. It's got a base of grey, and then it's got the orange and yellow tones that you get in a tiger. So it's like a dirty tiger that's been rolling about in charcoal. I love this, and I saw it knitted up in a pair of socks when I was in the shop, and it just had to come home with me. That rusty orange is just, it's divine, and I struggle to walk away from this colour all the time. And this is 40% British wool, 35% British Blueface Leicester, and 25% nylon, and it says hand painted with humour, which perfectly sums up Becca and Teddy. If you're ever in and around Shrewsbury, please go and see them in the Market Hall. It's a great shop. It's doubled in size this year, and they're going all out, and it is packed, absolutely packed to the gunnels, full of really beautiful woolen yarn. And this is spun by West Yorkshire Spinners. This is a pair of socks waiting to happen for me. I think the dirty tiger is a bit too much for Matthew. It's actually called Alley Cat, so I'm not that far off it with Dirty Tiger, but I might suggest that they rename it Dirty Tiger. And what else did I get from there? They also had some other sock wool that I haven't tried before, so I wanted to give it a whirl. In part because it looks really lovely and it's got quite a high twist on it, but I thought it might be good for crocheted socks as well. It is by Grundle, which is a German company, and it's called Hot Socks Pearl mit Cashmere, so pearl with cashmere, and it is 75% wool, 20% polyamide, 5% cashmere. And the ladies tell me that this is just the most beautiful sock wool. And of course they had it in a mustard tone, so you had me at mustard. Yeah, and it's a really good pricing point. It's £3.50 for 50 grams. So I'm going to be doing quite a lot of sock crocheting in the coming few weeks because I'm getting ready for our sock along. More information on that in the next podcast, but that's going to be starting the weekend of Yarndale. Claudia and I are going to kick it off at Yarndale when we meet up face to face for the first time ever. So in advance of that, I need to have been getting my crochet sock game on. So I wanted to top up and get some other wools that I can test out as part of the crochet along, because I've already tested a few and I wanted some different ones to try out. So that was You and Ply. And then I went to see, you'll have heard me reference Deb at Fine Me Knitting. She's my lovely tech editor. She's an absolute star. And she has opened her shop, Fine Me Knitting, in Bettysacoid. And it opened on the Friday and I managed to get along there on the Sunday. And I also managed to meet up with Sharon, who is my Crochet Makes and has offered up the prize for the no-sew kimono. So I managed to see her for a few minutes over at the shop, and the shop is it's just lovely. Go and see episode 34 when that comes out, because I'll be able to show you the shop and show you how it looks. But one of the things that she had in was a coloured Ryland wool. It's 50 grams, it's a light add-in, and it's 100% British, undyed wool, traditionally bred sheep that happily graze the green hills of Snowdonia. And this is, it says, lovingly shorn in 2017 by Naomi. I love it. So Ryland as a breed comes in coloured and kind of natural uncoloured. The uncoloured is a beautiful creamy colour, and the coloured can be any kind of shade of brown in between. It varies quite a bit. And this is a lovely mid brown, and it comes from Wandering Goose Farm, which is just up the road from where Deb's shop is, which is brilliant. And if you would like to know more about Wandering Goose Farm, they're on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and you can type in the hashtag Wandering Goose Farm, where they encourage you to come and meet the sheep. Love it. I really like it when farmers and kind of wool brands are very upfront about what it is that they do, and they use social media as a great tool for showing off how they farm and their process for getting to wool. Yeah, it's not a wool that will be for everyone, but I know that Ryland is really warm and it gives great stitch definition when you use it. So yeah, watch this space. Something will be happening with this one. Something will be happening with all of this. The other thing that Deb had in that I thought was really interesting, it's a bit of a one-off. I don't think she can get it again, and it is an alpaca and Gotland blend. So it's got that lovely luster that you get from the Gotland, but softness coming through from the alpaca. And it is 50% alpaca from Nottinghamshire, 50% Gotland from Lancashire, and it's spun and dyed in Lincolnshire. So again, nice provenance, and the colours are just gorgeous. So there's a light mossy green colour, which has got a silveriness to it because of the Gotland, and then there's a mid purple as well, and the colours are just beautiful. And these have to be a project together because the colours are just so nice together, and it's got that slightly like buttery feel. There's you can feel the lanolin in it, and it's just, again, it's got that sweet grassy smell to it. It's beautiful, and I'm thinking cowl for this. although I'm not sure how well I can take these colours up at my face, but I don't really care because I love these. They were just beautiful. And 100 grams is 295 metres, so it's about a kind of sport weight, just under. I think Deb has got these up on her website, so if you're interested, the purple is called Purple and the greeny colour is called Seafoam, which is a great name for it actually, because it does have that kind of greeny foamy colour to it. But this is what I was saying, I like to be able to go and support, and if a local yarn shop is doing stuff with interesting local wool, or just stuff that's that has a provenance and is supporting the economy of your country, then that deserves supporting, frankly. That's what I'd rather be spending my money here than waiting for Love Knitting, Love Crochet or Deadmore's to do a 30% off. My money's better spent in my local yarn shop doing this sort of stuff. Right, that's not all. Because it was my birthday month, and because I have found a wool that I love, love, love and adore, I bought a jumper's quantities worth. And I got the North Ronaldsay wool, which is just so soft, so buttery. I just love this stuff. And I felt some when I was up at Woolfest in Cumbria in June, and it was not the same. The stuff that is coming out of a yarn from North Ronaldsay, which comes off the island, is another level. It is so different from any other North Ronaldsay that I have ever touched. I don't know what they do in the spinning process. I don't know if it's just because of the habitat that the sheep have up on the island of North Ronaldsay. I don't know, but it's different. It's, this is probably the most marked difference I've seen in a breed, being from one location to the next. This stuff is incredible. So I have 5 skeins, which is my jumper quantities worth. And then what I'm planning is for each birthday and or Christmas that I will get a load of yarn from another island. It could be anywhere globally, it doesn't have to be UK, but I will keep on supporting little island production of wool for every birthday or Christmas jumper that I make. So the next one that I'm lining up, if I do a Christmas one, is Nash Island on Maine in the US. That will be the one that I go for next, because again, that's small production done by a micro mill. It's just a really interesting wool, much the same as this, and I love the idea of having garments that are made by me that have got special significance because the people that I love and my family members and friends have paid for it, and I've chosen the pattern and chosen which island the wool comes from. So yeah, feel free to join me if you want to do the same and have like birthday garments and do some island hopping as well. So yeah, I have a jumper's quantities worth of the North Ronaldsay. And if any of you are going to Orkney and you end up on North Ronaldsay, try and get your paws on this stuff because it's just incredible. I think from what Isla, formerly of Brit Yarn, was saying, is it's actually available in some of the main shops on the main island as well. So yeah, you might be able to get your hands on this even if you don't go to North Ronaldsay. But also Yarn from North Ronaldsay have a website which I'll link to in the show notes and you can buy it direct from them. But I don't think they've got much of this clip left, so there are bits and pieces, but there's not a lot. I think I might have got the last jumper's quantities worth. I love it. Oh, it smells so sheepy. So I also went to Yarningham with Charlie. Charlie and I went and had a day out, and Charlie is the Love Charlie podcast, and we went and I don't think, did I buy anything? I don't think I bought anything, but Charlie was very generous and bought me a skein of river knits for my birthday, and the one that she got me is called Shepherd's Warning, and it is deep, deep midnighty blue with tealy greens in there as well. It is just gorgeous. You know how I feel about Becky's dyeing, and the colourways that she comes up with. I love them. And I know the origins of this colourway, and it had to be paired up with the other one that she's done, which is called Shepherd's Delight, which she put one aside for me so that I could see it on the Sunday at Yarningham. And we put it to one side for me to buy it at the end of the day. And she and I went and had Charlie and Becky and I went and had a slice of cake. And I came back to come and pay for it, and Marcus had sold it. He sold my skein of Shepherd's Delight. So when I was at Fibre East at the weekend just gone, she made sure that she kept me one back, and Marcus was not allowed to sell it. So my plan is to keep these two together because they are gorgeous. So whereas Shepherd's Warning is that dark blue colour, Shepherd's Delight for me is a proper sunset and sunrise colour. I've long been looking for a sunset sunrise colour that I think is correct, and all too often I feel like the indie dyers put too much yellow into it. They make the orangey too orange and not enough coral in it, and Becky has nailed this for me. It's got a kind of violet purple in it and a grey. You know, when you get all of those colours and that kind of rose pink going into maroon, when you've got clouds during a sunset and you've just got the kind of dark nature of the clouds in it, along with the orange and the coral that beams off the sun, she's just absolutely nailed it for me. This is exactly the colour that I wanted for a sunrise sunset colour of yarn. And I think these two just go brilliantly together because there are elements of coral kind of in this blue as well. So they go amazingly well together, and I'm going to pull them together in something. I don't know just what. And I know she's going to repeat this colourway anyway, but I wanted it. It's the first yarn for a long time that I've just gone, oh, I have to have that. I really, 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 really want that. And yeah, I just love them. So they had to come home with me. And then in the end, so Charlie bought me Shepherd's Warning. And then when I saw Becky on Sunday, she gave me Shepherd's Delight for my birthday. So yay! I've got two gorgeous skeins of river nets that I was given as presents by lovely, lovely people. So I'm very excited. But photos will be in the show notes and you'll get it. When you see them together, you'll get it because they are just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I feel very spoiled. And then Charlie was just really naughty and she snuck off and she went and bought a sock kit that I had been eyeing up with a mini. And it's by a company that I haven't used before, and they're called Down Sheepy Lane. And the kit is it's a 100-gram skein of 75% Blueface Leicester, 25% nylon, and a little mini 20 grams of 75% merino, 25% nylon. And the colourway is called Paper Roses. It's beautiful. It's like that old antique kind of pinks with a little bit of yellow and some browns and sprinkled with the green, and the mini that goes with it is quite a mid-forest green, but it's quite variegated, and these are going to look beautiful in socks, absolutely beautiful. And because Charlie was just being really naughty at this point, there was no need to be buying this as well. So what I've agreed with her is that she needs to give me her sock measurements, because I know I can get 2 pairs of socks out of the 100-gram skein. So I will pick another colour for her contrast heels and toes, and I will knit her a pair of socks. So because she was just like far too generous, so she needs to have knitted socks out of this. But colours are gorgeous. So I go to my local spinners, weavers, dyers group once a month, and we've just set up a subgroup which is purely for spinning, and we meet one Wednesday every month, and it's just been, and my friend Joy, who is also my spinning guru, she is amazing. She had been working on one of my patterns on Doppio Colosseum, which uses a linen stitch. I'll try and pop a photo in for you. And when she had been at Wonderful Wales, I'd given her the pattern as a thank you for being so giving with her time on spinning and helping the club out so much. But she had been to go and see Becky, and she bought a skein of Mermaid, which is exactly as it sounds on the tin. It's all of those greens and teals and purples and pinks and blues you would expect on the iridescent kind of scaly parts of a mermaid, and it is beautiful. And I've long admired this colourway but didn't know what I could do with it. And as I say, Joy had used it for Doppio Colosseum, and it is the most gorgeous yarn and stitch combination that I've seen for a long time. Linen stitch really, really suits Mermaid as a colourway. Just the way that the colours present themselves and how spaced out they are, it's absolutely beautiful. And it made me just want to go straight to Becky's stand on Sunday and go and buy some. Because when I'd seen Joy's, I was thinking, oh, I could just make myself a Doppio Colosseum, because as with all of my stuff, I have samples, but I tend not to wear them that much because I want to keep them good for samples. But I didn't want to just make a Doppio Colosseum, and then a design started filtering through my head for what I could do in linen stitch, another shawl, but quite different from Doppio, and how I could do that in Mermaid. And if I can make it work, I think this shawl is just going to be really striking and beautiful. And it depends on having 2 skeins of Mermaid and then a contrast but matching colour that will be used in it as well. And I've picked like quite a vibrant pinky purple, almost like a magenta colour, which will be the colour pop that comes out of it. And they look so good together. I'm very excited about this shawl. Becky and I stood there for a little while picking out what we thought was the right contrast colour to go with Mermaid, and I really feel like we've nailed it. And sometimes you get a pattern in your head and it just will not go away, and it just keeps on filtering. While I'm sleeping, I know my brain is ticking it over, working out the intricacies of it and how I can make what I want to happen actually come alive. And I'm really looking forward. But be less magpie, be more worker ant. I'm not allowed to start this until I've got some of my other designs out and done. So you're not going to see this coming and being used for a little while, but just know it's there. Just admire the beauty of Mermaid and that magenta pinky purple together. It's gorgeous. And yeah, take a look at the show notes and Joy's shawl with Mermaid in linen stitch. It's just like, it took my breath away when she showed it to me. I was absolutely in awe of what she'd created with it. It was beautiful. And that concludes everything that I have bought and been given and just been passed on this month. It's quite a lot. Quick news bits. The next global hookup, I'm going to do double again because I really enjoy having one on the Saturday night and one on the Sunday morning. So the Saturday night will be on the 11th of August. It's going to be an 8:30 kick-off time, that's British summer time, 8:30 p.m, and it goes on for however long it needs to go on for. And then the second one will be on the Sunday morning, which is Sunday the 12th of August, and that will start at 9 a.m. British summertime. That seems to work for a lot of people through in Australia and it also randomly works for Claudia, who's a bit of a night owl, so it means that she can come in and join us even though she's in San Diego. So depending on what you want, those 2 sessions will be available. I'm really loving the way that the global hookups are working. They're very relaxed and everybody just chats away. There's less dependency on me keeping stuff going and keeping the chatter flowing as people are starting to get to know themselves. So if you are minus a crochet group and you want to be part of a crafting group, come and join us. It's really simple to join in, and it's a very friendly atmosphere to sit and do some crochet or knitting or whatever you want to do for a couple of hours. You can join for 10 minutes and leave if you want, or you can stay for as long as I keep the session open. It's usually a couple of hours though. It's good fun. It's really nice to have more conversation and more friendship growth with lots of people that are crochet clan. It's lovely. Another little quick one, and I'm already feeling embarrassed because it's about me, but I've started selling my patterns. Look, I'm scratching myself because I feel embarrassed about it. That's ridiculous. I've started selling my patterns and some of the goods from my website wholesale into local yarn shops. So that can be done globally. If you have got a local yarn shop that you think would be a good match for my products and my patterns, feel free to drop me a line, and I'll get in touch with them. I know that often the thing that crocheters complain about is that there's not enough crochet content in local yarn shops. The notions are very knitting related and the patterns are knitting related, and the way that they speak to people that come through the door is very knitting related as well. So if you think that you've got a local yarn shop that would be interested in carrying my patterns, hard copy, let me know and I will get in touch with them. I had my first wholesale order through today, so it's starting to roll out, and I've been working on point of sale packaging and stuff, and just I've been working my little socks off over the last few weeks, and that's one of the reasons I've been visiting so many yarn shops, is because I've been having meetings with them about wholesaling my products out to them. So it's all very exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time. But yeah, that's the other thing that I'm gearing up for. So let me know if you have a yarn shop that I should be talking to. Thank you. I have got another giveaway for you in this podcast. It's a very localised one for UK folk, but I'm vending at the Southern Wool Show on the 1st of September, and that's at Newbury Racecourse. And the lovely organiser, Nick, he's fab, he's given us at the podcast 2 free tickets to give away. So what I'm suggesting is, if you're in and around that Newbury area and you fancy winning a pair of tickets, like I say, it's going to be localised, so if you're going to come, then it's worth going in for this prize, and I'm going to do it on a really quick turnaround so that you don't then go and buy tickets. So I will open this for a week, starting on Friday the 3rd. It will go on until Friday the 10th, and it's going to be run through the Ravelry thread. So there will be a thread in there for the ticket competition. Go into there and just write me a little comment, and then I will do a prize draw on those 2 tickets. And if somebody wins it and they were coming on their own, then I will do another quick random number generator, and I'll get that second ticket out to somebody else. So that's the Southern Wool Show, which is at Newbury Racecourse on the 1st of September. And that's a brand new show again for the UK. It's a one-day one, which I really like vending at a one-day show. It's far less hassle. It's far less tiring as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. And if you're coming, come and say hello. It's future free again, because I forgot to tell you something in quick news bits. I mentioned last time round that I'd made meringues, and a few of you wanted the recipe, so I've added it into the show notes. It will link to one of my other websites that I don't think I've ever told you about, where I used to put up loads of recipes, because I love cooking and I love making my own bits and pieces up. And so I'll add the link to the meringues in there. And honestly, I've tested every meringue recipe going, this is the one to use. And the keen-eyed amongst you might have already seen that I've got a recipe up in the latest issue of Holland and magazine. So I've provided a link into that as well. It's for a kind of summer porridge, which is cold and really easy to make, and you can portion it up and keep it in the fridge for 5 days. So it's a great kind of weekday breakfast for throughout the summer. So I'll add a link to that. And I also mentioned to somebody, well, I mentioned on the episode 32 that I made my own ragu sauce, and somebody's asked for that recipe. So I'll pop that in next episode that I do. I'll add that into the show links because I'll have to type it up because I tend to just put a bit of everything in. But it is an amazing ragu recipe that I learned on a cookery course out in Italy, so it's fairly authentic, or at least I was told that it was authentic. So yeah, I'll pop that into the next proper episode for you. Right, future phase now going, never to come back again. Bye bye. So let's move on to Big Up. I wanted to say thank you to everybody that joined into the Summer Top Cal. Really inspirational stuff. Huge amount of different yarns that have been used. Huge, different takes on the way that a pattern can look. I just encourage you to go and look at the FO threads because so many tops have been made and so many different tops and free paid for patterns. Really something for everyone, no matter what your crafting tastes are. I truly believe that you'll be catered for in that thread, so go and have a look and see what everybody's done. And thank you as ever for being part of the Cal. I said that the next one will be the sock Cal, so I need to do a load of work on that when I get back after Northern Ireland, but that promises to be a really kind of educational Cal. It's the main Cal that I'm putting a lot of my time and effort into this year, and it promises to be a really good one. I'm hoping that I've got loads of different people involved and about 5 different designers with their sock designs. So yeah, I'm putting a lot of kind of work and effort into that at the moment, and come, I think it's the 3rd week of September, we'll be going live with a really good, fun but informative and educational Cal on socks, crocheted socks as well. Final bit, some j'adores. I have a new song that I'm utterly obsessed by. I know I'm not the only one, but when I get a new song that I love, I will play it on repeat. And this one is called Shotgun by George Ezra. He's got quite a funky, soulful voice, and I really like his original, but also I really love some of the dance remixes. In particular, there's a Danny Dove dance remix. And Matthew is so sick of this song because I'm just playing it on repeat all the time. I love it. I've linked to it in the show notes, and it's just, I'm pretty much obsessed with this song at the moment. On the TV front, we boshed inside of 2 nights 2 CDs of The Good Place. I love the premise of this TV show. I'm not going to spoil it for you because if I start talking about it, it will tell you kind of what's going on within the TV show. It's from the same creator as Parks and Rec, which I just loved and adored. So if you were a fan of Parks and Rec, I truly believe that you'd be a fan of The Good Place as well. And it's got such a great cast lineup. It's really good. So if you're looking for a new box set, and there are so many to choose from, and I've talked about this before, loads of them are utter tosh. But The Good Place is witty and charming, and yeah, I just think it's really funny. It's good. I mean, for us to do a box set inside of, to do 2 series inside of 2 nights tells you something. Also, it was really hot and we couldn't move, so we just lay on the bed watching The Good Place for 2 nights. That's what we did. So yeah, go forth and enjoy. Let me know if you enjoyed it. If you've already seen it, let me know, because I thought it was fabulous. Series 3 comes out in November, by the way. Yes. And the second part of series 5 of Vikings is due out later this year as well. Excited for that. Love a Viking. And audiobook wise, I'm still making my way through the Baroque Cycle by Neil Stevenson. It's a huge task to go through the Baroque Cycle, and I am on books 4 and 5. They're told in tandem. I just love it. I've already listened to it all once. This is my second sitting, and I'm loving it just as much second time round as I was first time round, possibly even more, because it's quite a factual story that's been told. There are a lot of interesting historical facts told within it, and I love it. It's on Audible, so for one credit you can get each of the books in the Baroque Cycle. And if you want something that's a big, like, chunky set of audiobooks to go through, then and you like history, then I thoroughly recommend the Baroque Cycle. It's fabulous, and it's brilliantly detailed, researched and told. I really like the people that are narrating it as well. Right, my lovelies, that is it. I think I have said everything that I need to say. I have shown you my wealth of new yarn, and yeah, I'm ready to go and pack and get ready for packing the car up and going to Northern Ireland. I mean, have I mentioned it enough? Can you tell that I'm excited? Can you tell that I'm really due a couple of days out and that I can't wait to spend some time with my husband? We've even planned to take our little mini fold-up barbecue and go and have a barbecue down on the beach one night. But before then, I've got a house to clean, some cat sick to clean up. The cat has also given us a rat for a present, which is currently living in our kitchen, so I've got to go and deal with that as well. So basically it's time to shut up, go and deal with the rat and cat sick. Love my life. It's bro. Right, until next month, well, until the August one, and then proper podcast again in a month's time in September. Have a lovely rest of your holiday, and I will see you soon. And I'm waving. Bye-bye. Oh no. Really? Already? But I've only just made you come in. I'm not even going to say hello. I'll give some purrs. Are you a happy podcat? No, you're an unhappy podcat. Do you want to leave? Hey kitten, come on then. I keep having to take breathers because there's so much yarn to talk about. And all will be good. Honestly, shut up. And I don't have my wedding ring on. I don't want to record without my wedding ring on. Now I can record. Cat hair. That's better. You can shut it.
Outside every darkened door, the blues won't haunt you anymore. For the brave are free and love and soul. Come ride with me to the distant shore. If you don't hesitate to lay down garden days, there's not much time left today. Life is a
right, people. All done your tricks. Hello and welcome to the Crochet Circle podcast.